Hi, everybody. It's Ciara here, teen librarian at the Pueblo Library, and I'm at Rawlings. So today is my last book talk about Indigenous books. It's the last one in November. Before I actually get into I'm actually going to do a couple of comics that are on Hoopla. And then I was in Hoopla and I was just like reading all these comics. And anyway, it's great for comics. Before I get into it, I want to sort of frame it. So something that has been going on for quite some time and continues to go on is that there are sort of a terrible number of Indigenous women who are going missing and being murdered. And something that's also disturbing is that there are not a great number of figures on this. Part of the reason that the figures are so bad is that the police departments do not keep good records. And even to get access to that data is incredibly expensive and prohibitive. One thing we do know from I'm going to give you some numbers from Canada. This is a problem in Canada and in the US. So in Canada, there's one province that actually keeps good data. And Indigenous women were 60% of the province's missing women, even though they're only 6% of the population. That's horrifying. And Canada has done a bit better. They don't have a great deal of data because province by province, Saskatchewan is really the only one that's done good work. But the Canadian government in 2019 did issue a report admitting its failures and calling its failure to address this issue part of colonial genocide. In the US, the police departments have not kept good data at all. They've miscategorized people by gender. They've put people down as not homicides, which were pretty clearly homicides. They're missing tons and tons of those who went missing and were killed. If you just talk to the community, I mean, the numbers are 4-5 times is what these police departments have. And also, some police departments did not respond to FAOIs, and I guess there's a long list of FAOIs to police departments, which, considering what's been going on, is not that surprising. But then they ask you to pay a huge amount to get access to this stuff. So that, a regular person, there's no way they could do it. And even an organization did a study, they couldn't even afford it. So knowing the numbers is pretty impossible, but the numbers are extraordinarily high. And it's known as an issue in these communities. So now I'm going to turn to the 2 comics that I'm going to recommend. There are a couple of more comics on Hoopla about Indigenous folks. I did not get a chance to read them, but I'm going to read them because I am now obsessed with comics on Hoopla. Anyway, The first one that I'm going to recommend is called Surviving the City, Volume 1. It's by Tasha Spillet. Sorry I don't have something to show you, but it's an e-comic on Hoopla, so sorry. And it is about two Indigenous best friends, teenagers, Milkwan and Des, who are living in some unnamed city. And it's essentially a story about the difficulties of being young Indigenous women in a city, having always to watch your back. Milkwan's mother actually was murdered, and the illustrations are quite amazing. They sort of reflect the danger that always surrounds them when they're going through the city, and the protection that the spirits of the women who have gone missing or died try to give them against these sort of so these white men who are looking at them have this sort of like devil sort of behind them, and they're usually with and Des is dealing with another problem, which is that she lives with her grandmother, but her grandmother has gotten too sick for her to live with her anymore, and she's facing having to move into a group home, which she definitely doesn't want to do. She's terrified of. All she wants to do is live with her grandmother. And it's essentially about sort of the dangers of living in the city, having always to watch your back, and the multiple other difficult issues faced by Indigenous teenagers. I'm not going to give all of it away, but it's great. Its illustrations are really interesting, and yeah, so it's great. The other one I'm going to talk about is called Will I See? And it's by David Alexander Robertson. Now I found the illustrations for this absolutely stunning. It's almost entirely black and white with some flashes of red. So it follows this Indigenous teen girl who's walking along, and then this black cat comes up to her, just starts making friends with her. And the cat basically leads her to all of these various places where she finds these items. And when she finds the items, sort of the next page will illustrate how this item was left behind by a woman who was being murdered or kidnapped by a white man. And the cat leads her to a number of these, many, many, many of them. And she goes home and shows them to her grandmother. And her grandmother makes a necklace of them. But her grandmother also says, "You were late. You can't be late. You know how dangerous it is for women like us." And then she explains how each of these women who are taken from them, their spirits take on other shapes, all beautiful, and animals, flowers, all gorgeous. And there's one more quite intense thing that happens that I'm not going to tell you about, but it's a really beautiful, beautiful comic. and its illustrations are wonderful. They're not sure how to explain them, but they're not what you would expect from a comic. I guess they're a little different, but it's a great comic, and I think you should check both of them out. Also, because they're both commenting on a problem that persists and that needs more attention. A problem that is tremendously upsetting to anyone who has a heart or has an ounce of empathy, who is not Indigenous, who has an ounce of empathy. And, Indigenous peoples have been working on the government to try and make things better. And a couple of things have passed, but they're not particularly helpful. Anyway, it's a critical issue. I encourage you to just look it up and read these comics. They're really great. Okay. Now, you all stay safe, okay? The coronavirus is running rampant right now in Pueblo, so you need to be really, really careful. Don't go hanging out with people you don't aren't your family. I know it stinks. I live by myself, so it's really boring. But I can't hang out with people. Not that I know anybody to hang out with. I moved here right when we shut down. But I hope you all have a good Thanksgiving. Remember, as hard as this year has been, remember there are things to be grateful for. Okay, and thinking of those things might make you feel a little better. Check in with your friends. Do group calls with your friends. Try and, approximate hanging out with your friends. And if you find yourself in trouble, call the crisis line, okay? There's no shame in it. I just want all of you to come out on the other side of this, okay? All right, that's it for me. Take care, all of you. We miss you. Okay, bye-bye.